Hi dear students, welcome to La Excellence Daily News Analysis. So today we will be discussing the articles of 23rd October 2020. So the first article is about to drive a harder bargain at the Delhi meet. So what are we referring here? It is about the 2+2 ministerial forum meeting that will be happening in India. So what is this 2+2 ministerial forum? It is nothing but a meeting between India and US ministers. So which are the two ministries that will be participating here? It is Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Defense. Scheduling of this meeting just 1 week before the US election shows there is some kind of electoral calculations in this meeting. That is very clearly evident with the past experience. So say for example in 2016 what happened is during the election time John Kerry visited India to ensure that India would ratify this Paris Climate Agreement and also showed its commitments towards mobilizing $100 billion per year for GCF fund. So with this, as per the promise, we ratified it, but as you know, instead of Obama party or the Democratic Party, so Trump was elected. So with the Trump election, automatically US exited from the Paris Agreement. At the same time, whatever promise it had made with respect to the GCF was also revoked. So because of which, whatever electoral promises made before the election could not be maintained. Now again, having this meeting just before 1 week before the elections mandates us to commit for something. So in such a case, if India has to commit, then it has to go for a harder bargain is what is the article trying to tell. So they are trying to ensure the support of Indo-Pacific before the elections. That is, with a visit, they are visiting India, Sri Lanka, Maldives and Indonesia so that they can have a strong public strategic commitment to the US on its Indo-Pacific plans. At the same time, containing of China in its domain. So by now, we have already have a perception that India is largely supporting the Trump because of the Modi's meeting or participation in the rallies in the Houston or Ahmedabad. So now, when we are moving ahead with this 2+2 meeting, what are the three areas that is of high importance? The first one is about the lack. So as there is a Chinese aggression over the region of actual control, the first issue might be this. The second issue is about the maritime sphere. The third is about the SAARC. So let's try to understand what is this maritime sphere. So we want to increase the India's relationship with United States with respect to the ties over Indo-Pacific. Along with that, conducting more and more joint military exercises and as ensuring the Quad meeting, participation of Australia and enhancing the further relationship between the Quad countries. Moving further, signing of this basic agreement. So all these activities will be done under the maritime sphere. So whenever you're trying to make a note, try to write down maritime sphere and the 4 points so that you can remember for the examination. So moving further, with respect to the SAARC region, US is signing a defense agreement with Indonesia. And with respect to Sri Lanka, it's making the progress with respect to Millennium Challenge Corporation, that is offering a 5-year aid for about $480 million for the development of the Sri Lanka. So third one is with respect to line of actual control and the Chinese aggression. So what could India or US do with respect to this? So even though India says that it wants to resolve the issues bilaterally, so US can expedite the defense agreements and defense deals that it is being signed with it. Along with that, it can also pressurize on Pakistan with respect to the terror related activities. So other key areas which could be focused and which could be used as a strong bargaining keys are one with respect to the trade issues, that is restoring the GSP, that is generalized system of preferences for the exports. Second thing is with respect to the 5G technology cooperation. Third is giving exemption for India to buy S-400 missile systems from Russia so that we will not be imposed any sanctions by the United States. So now India has to go for a harder bargaining so that whatever is efforts India is trying to put in, it will pay off. There is one more article with respect to 2+2 talks. So what are they trying to say in this article is this: the 2+2 talks will majorly focus on the regional issues, specifically the silent regional issues that needs to be addressed. So this will be the third India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue. This is what you have to remember. The rest of the points are same as we have discussed. Let's move on to the next article. At 75, United Nations needs rebirth. So what are we trying to speak over here? As you are all well aware, on October 24th, United Nations will be completing 75 years of celebrations. So then, do you think United Nations is successful in the 75 years? Is it that United Nations is constantly in a struggle between the principle and the power? could it really achieve those objectives that was mentioned in its formation? So, to answer those questions, first of all, we shall understand how United Nations came into the place. So, as we are all well aware, League of Nations was formed. Since League of Nations did not accommodate all the superpowers at that point of time, so there was a downfall of League of Nations. That's where United Nations Security Council came into the power. So, this United Nations Security Council could stay for such a long period of time, for the 75 years, is because of the veto power that has been given to the members. It's trying to accommodate all the major superpowers of that time so that there will not be any downfall or ill fate as like that of the League of Nations. Then coming to the United Nations Security Council, there was an era immediately after its formation, a Cold War started between the United States and the USSR. So because of which the role of United Nations Security Council was very weak, even though it was effective in ensuring that there is no third war, but at the same time it could not effectively function and realize its role as the one which has the mandate of maintaining international peace and security. Moving further, United Nations Security Council got its lost glory because when the world transformed itself from the multilateralism to the unipolarism, that is with the domination or hegemony of United States. So that's where United Nations Security Council could function strongly and ensure ineffective sanctions. So moving further, at the current junction, even at the time of COVID, as said by the Secretary General, that the geopolitical tensions, whatever is happening today, is a great fracture and it's kind of a new Cold War which has started. So what is this new Cold War? See, we are referring about the tensions that has arisen between China and United States involving other players like Russia, Turkey, Iran, Israel in the West Asia. Also the issues between China and its neighboring states that is happening in the Asia. So these are all these geopolitical tensions leading to a great fracture in the United Nations regime. So United Nations Security Council, even though with its existence, is always being made redundant because of the power structure which is occupying it. So that's where they say that United Nations is only as strong as its member commitment to its ideals. So whenever United Nations wants to ensure the collective security mandate, the competitive vetoing by these P5 members, that is permanent 5 members, that is China, France, Russia, UK and US, is always blocking those shifts. So now, as many developing countries are asking for the rightful place in the United Nations Security Council, it's blocked by these veto powers. So now, do you think whatever is the reforms that should happen in rebirth or ensuring the mandate of United Nations Security Council should be blocked by these members? Or as in the 21st century, they should be given more hands in effectively ensuring collective security system of the world is the question. So now that's where what we are asking is, at the time of 75th anniversary of United Nations, we want to ensure that the global push against the ossifying rules which have privileged rule of few over the many. We want to break that hegemony and we want the system to be more democratic. So that therefore we can ensure there is a balance between the power and principle. Let's move to the next article. United States to nix businesses visa for H1B specialty jobs. So H1B visas are issued for those people who will be from a foreign national and who will be doing a skilled labor unit United States. So now what the government is saying that there will be no issuance of the H1B visas. So with this what happens, many Indian companies are settled over there. So we'll be sending the technical professionals so to complete the job on site so that within the short period of time their accommodation we can complete the project effectively. So but now with the cancellation of this visa, many of the Indian technical companies as well as the Indian diaspora will get affected. Let's move on to the next article. CPI, that is Consumer Price Index for the industrial workers base year has been revised to 2016. So earlier the base year was in 2001. So now what is a very important thing what you have to remember is CPI is released in different indices, that is one for industrial workers, the other for agricultural laborers, the third one is for rural laborer and the fourth one is urban non-manual employee. Except this, all these three are released by Ministry of Labour or Labour and Employment Ministry. So this is released by Central Statistical Organization. So this is one very important thing what you have to remember from the examination perspective. So now what we have to understand, so what will be the usage of this industrial worker or indices? So always this indices is used to measure the inflation in the retail prices. Along with that, it was used to give dearness allowances or DA for the government employees. It was also helpful to revise the minimum wages in the scheduled employment. So in this indices, earlier they were giving higher weightage to the food and beverages. So now they are giving more weightage to the health, education, recreation and other miscellaneous expenses. So thereby they've reduced the weightage that was given to food and beverages. The ministry is also planning to revise the base year for agriculture workers. So moving further, we have to understand what is this base year. So any year, for example, this year we are taking, this year there will be more of fluctuations in the prices. So what we do, instead of taking this year, we take such an year, so which will be kept as a reference year in which there is no much fluctuations with respect to the prices and productions. Let's move on to the next article. Sri Lankan Parliament passes 20th Amendment. So with this amendment, the President of Sri Lanka will get wide powers and immunity. That is, more powers has been given to the executive. With this, there is a chances that it may slip into authoritarianism, and with this unbridled power, the power of the legislature may be diluted. So in detail, let's understand what is this 20th Amendment in the next video. Thank you.